Everybody, how are you today? We are going to be talking about a few books that I have read that are absolute must reads. Love every bit of them, and that's why I'm sharing them here with you today. The first one is The Seven and a Half Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. This was a random find for me, and I am so happy that I found it on the bookshelf. It is literally my new favorite book. This author is amazing, and I haven't had a book that I was this excited about for years. The twists and turns it takes is completely unexpected. It is not your typical trope of a novel that you've read. It is a very unique story, and honestly, I could not predict the ending if I tried my best. And I love mystery novels, everything having to do with like suspense, trying to figure out what's going to happen. And this book right here is definitely a page turner. It is, let me see, let me get the exact page count, 458 pages. And let me tell you why I hated this and loved it at the same time. I was mad that I could not read faster. That is the emotion that this book gave me because of how impactful the story was about halfway through. It literally grabbed me and I could not fall asleep until I finished reading the book. And there were actually a couple times where it scared me, and that takes a lot for a book to actually make moments that are suspenseful to the point of my heart racing and I don't know what's going to happen. I feel completely immersed and engulfed. Great book, great author, and definitely one that you should read if you like that suspense, fantasy, kind of futuristic. There is no exact time when it's set, but it's implied that it's futuristic. You'll understand when you read it. But the characters are amazing. The concept is amazing. I thought it was going to be another one of those. What's that movie where she falls asleep and restarts the day over and over? It's kind of like that concept, but not really, because you wake up as a different character every time, and he takes on the personality traits of the different characters every time. And it is perfectly written. It is beautifully written. Love it. You're never going to read another book like this. I can guarantee that. So after I finished this one, I started doing some research on the author and then found out he has a second one. Of course he does. Why wouldn't he? So I immediately bought it, and this one is a completely different storyline. Does not follow this one at all, so you can read either of them. You don't need to like read this one first or read this one first. You can read either of them independently. This one is more about a journey on a ship. So it's kind of set in the past tense, but not really, because there's things that don't really align. And he makes a point to say that in the author's notes, is there's no real timeline that's happening here. It's a fantasy world. Like, we're making things up as we go. But it definitely, if you like ships, if you like pirates, if you like that kind of scene, this is a great book for that. And this one is also 488 pages, which I absolutely love, because the depth he gets into in the story and where it's going, building the character storylines, bringing out their emotions and their personalities is fantastic. That is what this author does really, really well. And I really appreciated it in the storytelling, because that's something that sometimes you see if it's a romance author, it's not really as important for them to go into detail on the character's background and who they are and why they are the way they are. But I really like that part of stories, and these books do a really good job at going into that explanation. So if you like that kind of character building, these are really good books for you to read. This one is not the same type of mystery as the other one, which I thought was really interesting as well, that the author can kind of shift how he's building stories but still build them both in a very impactful way. This one is more of a Sherlock Holmes style detective story, and it's still got that element of fantasy and you don't know what's happening. I was completely taken away by the ending. I thought I had an idea. I was like, okay, I think I get it, and then completely 180'd it at the end, and I was shocked. I was literally shocked at the last chapter of how everything, I'm not going to give it away, but it's great. It's a great book. I can't explain all the details of it until you've read it, because I don't want to give away any of the secrets. But I want to start a book club about these books because they are so fantastic. That's all I'm going to say. If you want to start a book club and read these with me, leave me a comment because they're great. If you like that fantasy kind of style, that leads me to my next book, The Ninth House. This one is like if Harry Potter went to college and it was happening in this day and age. There's cell phones. It's very modern. It is a female lead character, and she's very, I'm not going to say independent, but she's a very strong female lead. And they touch on some of the typical college experiences that women experience that aren't necessarily the best, but it's a very realistic storyline that you can believe. And it takes you through as if you were in the Harry Potter world in nowadays. Like, it's so believable and real. I loved this story. And actually, she just came out with the second book. I don't know if it's in this same storyline, but I just realized it. I haven't bought it yet. I haven't read it yet, but I loved this book enough that I will be purchasing that book and reading it next because this book is so good. Also, very unexpected ending. I love books that you can't really tell what's happening, but you're following along, and by the end of it, you're just blown away. And that's what this book does for me. My last and final book that I want to talk about is this monster of a book. So it's by J.J. Abrams, and it's called S, but the actual title of the book that you will be reading is The Ship of Theseus. So the book is basically a story within a story, and if you like puzzles, if you like escape rooms, if you like mystery, this is a fantastic book for you. I will say I got this at Christmas time, and I still have not finished the puzzle. So let me open this up and show you. So there's a book in here, but within the book, you will find a story within a story. So there's articles of paper. I don't want to tilt it because everything's going to fall out, but you can see in here, there's notations throughout the entire book. There's postcards, there's little news articles. All of that leads you to a different story within the story. So it's recommended to read this book as the actual book first. So if you see here, the actual book is written here. So you want to understand that story before you go back and start reading all of the notations. And the notations are these two college students writing back and forth to each other in this book that they found in the library and discovering the story within the lines of this book. And it is fascinating, let me tell you. It is very detective-y. It's difficult not to read the notations as you're going through. I tried reading that the first time I opened it up. I was like, okay, I'm going to read everything that's on the page all at once. Very difficult to follow. But if you like a challenging book, if you like something to last longer, pull your attention in, really get you absorbed and take you out of this reality, this is a fantastic book to do that. And it's got all of the extra things you could ever want of trying to solve your own Sherlock Holmes puzzle. So this book is fantastic. I absolutely love it and I recommend it. So that's all I've got to share with you today. Those are my 4 book recommendations. If you want more, I will be back and I'll be sharing more recommendations as I read them. I read a lot. So everything from fantasy to self-help to business and development. So I will be sharing a lot more books with you. Please stay tuned and follow along if you want to see more. Talk to you later.